Hello, beauty. Oh my God. Welcome to this podcast episode. Wow. So I took a little break from recording podcast episodes while I was writing my book. Yes, I have a book. I have a book and I've never done this before. I'm recording this podcast like as usual on my computer. But I'm doing it with my computer video. I a few years ago actually, I bought a good vlogging uh DSLR camera, and one of the main intentions I had with it was to record my podcast in video. And so I did do that for a while. I recorded my podcast in video and I had someone that would then go through, chop them up, create little clips from them, and I used to post them. Those clips honestly would get really low engagement. It's something that I find with clips from a podcast. But I actually think they were quite useful. And, it's the kind of thing of like, okay, there's low engagement because it doesn't appeal to everyone, but it's better content for the people that are really into my content. So it's really worth doing. Anyways, when I moved to Bali, basically I dropped off on recording the video because I did find it a little bit of a barrier to me recording a podcast, because rather than just being able to pull out my mic, I would feel like I needed to look good. I needed to set up the camera, blah, blah, blah. So I stopped doing it, but it's also something that's come through intuitive processes for me for so many years to have my podcast on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to say I haven't followed through on it in that it hasn't finally happened, but I have had two assistants start working on it. And there's just so many podcast episodes that we didn't get there. Anyways, that's all a long thing to say. I'm recording this podcast on the video of my computer. So, something on my top, which I just washed. So that I just record whatever I look like when I'm doing the podcast. I don't need to set up a camera, and can stop being such a fucking perfectionist, and I can just fucking have video because I'm just going to upload all of these to YouTube and just stop making it a big production, because it doesn't need to be, and it just stops me from doing it. So hi, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're seeing my face because I'm holding up the book, all of that is to give you the context that I'm also on video right now. Some people are watching the video and I'm holding up my book that I have written. So I didn't plan to take such a big break from doing podcasts. I think it's been 3 months. My plan was to just write the book and then get straight back to podcasts. And it's been such a process for me. There's been so many podcasts that I've wanted to record throughout the past 3 months, and kept thinking I was going to, and it was on my list every single week, do a podcast, but I just didn't get there, because while I have written, completed, and published and released a book in 3 months, start to finish in 3 months, I have also finished my very first Eco Silk collection that I was working on for Dare. I've fully started and completed like a full Dare, I think I'm going to call it Dare Elevate collection, which is the t-shirts and currently it's t-shirts and tote bags that just are really cool and have like words and messages on them that are really uplifting, so that they help you step into like that bitch, own yourself, own your energy, be reminded of who you really are, be reminded of the creative principles, pull you out of just your identity that you go into, right? So this full collection, which a lot of it is kind of merch for the book, as in, it's a t-shirt with be unacceptable, which in of itself is a reminder. Yeah, fucking be unacceptable. That's the name of my book, by the way, in case you didn't know. And the tote bag, oh, don't even get me started on the tote bag. The tote bag is just, I want everything that I create to just be like the best thing for that thing, So it's like, it's so good to use. You would want to use it. It like is just the best. And so that's really my aim with all of the things I create in Dare. And with the tote bag, I got the most expensive Lush fabric that I could use for it that's 100% cotton, it's thick, and it's got this it's just like a really beautiful, I guess you call it knit, the fabric itself. And the design of the tote bag is to be practical and have space, and it's got these pockets so all your small things fits in all the pockets, and it clips so your stuff doesn't fall out, and just like be the best. So what I'm getting at is that is another project in the last 3 months I have done from start to finish. The Eco Silk collection had already started, but finishing, and also the Dare Glass Pleasure collection, and then getting packaging and labels for all of these things and doing all of the design for all of that stuff, all at the same time running my coaching business as usual, and having my assistant quit suddenly one morning, the morning that I was launching a challenge, because I just decided, hey, let's also run a challenge in amongst all of that. And so, I didn't follow through on the podcast because those things just took up all of my bandwidth. But here I am. I'm so excited to be recording this podcast. I'm sorry this introduction has gone on so long, but I just feel like there's all this context I need to give you. I am terrible at telling anyone anything without context. I literally can't. I'm like, yeah, but you need to know this, and you need to know this, and you need to know this for the whole thing to make sense and for you to really see it and feel it and receive it. Anyways, right now, recording this podcast, I'm sitting in the studio at my sister's place, my sister Josie, who actually does a lot of graphic design for me, and I've been working with to do all the design for the Dare Elevate collection. And also, I guess I should do another episode on it. It just totally wasn't planned this way, but it came together this way that she also did a logo for Dare. I wasn't actually going to get a logo done, but it's one of those sequence of kind of obvious things that led to this, but then that thing fell through. But then because I did that, it made me be like, oh, well, I should just get Josie to do my Dare logo and support with all the packaging. So she's done so much with that, which is awesome. So I'm at my sister's house. For context for everyone, because I just love my context. I just had my book launch for my book on the weekend in Melbourne, my in-person book launch. And I have, on the same day, I launched the ebook version of the book on Amazon. The hard copy. Look, I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to do a separate episode on launching my book, I think, because I just want to share with you actually a lot about the process. I know a lot of you guys are probably curious about launching a book and like what's involved, and I had never done it. All I have done before is I wrote a book as an ebook, and so it's a short book, and I literally just made it a PDF, and it's available on my website. That was maybe 4 years ago. It's a very good book. I wanted to actually go through that book, like do a proper edit, probably get an editor maybe even to go through it, and then get it typeset. I'll explain in my launching a book. Actually, maybe it'll end up being this episode, what typesetting is, because you might not know. I didn't know before I wrote a book. Get it typeset and then have that created into an EPUB so that it can be an ebook on Amazon. And also have it typeset so that it could be print on demand on Amazon as well, because it's a really good book. It's just a very short book, really good book. So anyways, that's the only experience I'd had with writing a book before. So I have gone through this journey of learning everything. And I think that a lot of you guys would probably love to hear it and love to hear about the book launch. I think that's what I'm doing a separate episode on. Now I'm even remembering that I already decided this is on the book launch. But I want to share with you in this episode about writing my book and actually finishing my book, which I have done. Be Unacceptable, Dare to Live the Life You're Meant For. And I've actually kind of been playing, that's the tagline, I guess. Is it subtitle, tagline? Subtitle, I guess. It's a book. For my book that's on the book itself. And I've actually been kind of realizing I'm not sure if that's actually the most effective subtitle for people to immediately know what it's about. So I've kind of been playing with the subtitle that I've uploaded on Amazon, and also realizing that I can't change it anymore. But I think it's better because, as people have asked me when I got to Melbourne about a week and a half before my book launch, people were asking me, "Oh, what's the book about?" And I noticed like Dare to Live the Life You're Meant For doesn't quite just immediately capture and convey it. Like that is what it's about. But basically, I was like, I noticed what I was saying to people, and it was one of those things where I woke up one morning. This was right before the book launch, but also when I was still uploading it to Amazon in ebook, because I finished it, I got it printed, but then it hadn't been uploaded to Amazon. The ebook version hadn't been finished, and my typesetter technically was meant to do all of those things, but she she was new to this as well, which is another learning. And there was some things that she doesn't have as high attention to detail as me, is something that I learned through the process. And she doesn't, it was her first time actually doing this process. And so there was these things that were an issue with where the platform that she first uploaded the book to. And that then had consequences to how my book would be available on Amazon, my royalties on Amazon, like how I would want to have done it on Amazon, but also like I could barely think ahead to any of this stuff. Guys, these last few months, I've just been taking it like the one thing at a time, basically. But through that experience, I was like, no, I absolutely, I'm going to upload everything, because I know that I have a very sharp attention to detail, and I'll read everything, and, then I can make sure that I make the decisions for my book that I want to make. And I just need to take responsibility for that, basically. So that's why I wasn't originally going to be the one doing all of that, in that final week before my actual book launch, but I ended up doing all of that, which then also took a lot of my time, and was like, yeah, still trying to bring everything together, even though I had the printed books before my book launch. So, yeah, writing my book. I just made sure that I checked my podcast before I started recording this, and I saw that my last episode was the one of it's taken me 2 years to write my book, or something. Well, I haven't written my book for 2 years. And so it's kind of cool that this is my next episode, and I'm post book launch. And the thing I want to say about that is, lol, there are a couple. So in my book, in part 2 of my book, is the code. The code, just like looking through my book. The part 2 of my book is the divinely wild path of being unacceptable. The codes that wake you up from the spells of the illusion that you need to be acceptable. You need to be an acceptable version of yourself. And that is what's in part 1. So part 2 is the codes that wake you up. And part 2 is awesome. This whole book is awesome. I love it. Which I really love. I love that is the case. And I have, for each of the codes in part 2, I've put a podcast episode reference to go deeper into that code. And for most of the codes, I already had a podcast episode. As you would imagine, this book is like one part of like the body of work that I deliver. And there was a couple that didn't. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to record a podcast episode for them. So I printed them in the book. They're in the ebook version, like linked and everything. And I haven't done those podcast episodes. It was fully my intention to do it before the book got published. And it was one of those things that I just, in some ways, I'm very okay with not being a perfectionist or doing things perfectly. And I'm just like, you know what, that's just not going to matter. And so I actually did try to record these episodes, or I attempted to record these episodes a few days before the book launch. But I'm just going to be real, guys. I was in so much tension. And although I wasn't feeling like really bad or off, I was feeling disconnected. And I fully recorded 2 podcast episodes. One, which was maybe essentially this one. I think I recorded because I had left it because I thought that I would release episodes, uh, I was gonna get onto the episodes before the book, and I just had been wanting to create an episode just about my process for so long. I adjusted all the numbers of those non-existent episodes so that there would be an episode that came before them, and then I never recorded any, so I kind of was like anyways, sorry guys, I know that I'm giving too much detail. Basically, I'm scrapping those episodes. I was just not, like, dropping into my heart. Like, they're fine, but I wasn't, like, dropping into my heart and just sharing from that turn on and passion. And I hesitate to even tell you guys this because you don't have to always feel good. Like, that's just such a big thing that I want you to know is, like, feeling good is not an indicator of your creative ability. Your creative ability is always there. It's always there. And when you actually just choose to show up for it in full vulnerability, no matter how you feel, maybe you feel disconnected, you feel tired, you feel whatever, like you can tap in like quite quickly, and you just like there's no way you need to be. You don't need to be feeling high vibe in order to drop into and tap into your creative abilities. But basically I recorded these full episodes and I can just feel I'm just like saying, I'm just kind of doing it. Not that I was following any sort of script, but it was like still the sensation of by rote, and not, not from my heart. So here I am re-recording them. It's after my launch, and I am basically just sharing with you things about my process, I guess, already in this 17 minutes of putting together my book. I guess that's what I'm already doing, even though I feel like I kind of haven't started yet. But this is what it's been, and it's just okay, but now I needed to do it. Look, I know I needed to do it today, and then I got a message from someone that read the book this morning, and they said, finished the book, loved it, so good. I'm just going to reread part 2 and then I'm going to listen to the podcast episodes. And so I was like, okay, Alex, no more avoiding these podcast episodes. They're getting recorded today. All right. Because there's people now reading my book that don't know me, have never come across me, have found me on Amazon, and I cannot afford to come across so unprofessional that I've linked all this shit that like goes to a 404 page, and then they come to my Spotify or whatever they listen to podcasts on. They come to my podcast and the podcast is literally not there. Like, how unprofessional does that look for a new up and coming book? You read it, maybe you just fucking loved it, and then like there's no links, you've never met me before, you're a Kindle Unlimited reader, you're gonna leave a review, and so you're gonna be like, oh, like I love the book, but then I went to the thing and there was nothing there. No, it's time, okay? Totally fine. I have no issue at all with the fact that these were not done before the book came out, but now they must be done. We're at crunch time, people. So I hope all of what I've already shared just shows you how much you just don't need to know ahead of time. Just fucking do the thing. Like, I didn't know any of the Amazon shit. I didn't know any of the Amazon shit until last week, guys. Until last week. Literally, when it was time to upload everything and for things to go to this other platform. So it got uploaded onto this other platform first, which is what distributes it to all basically global distributors, including it puts it on booktopia.com. Booktopia, that's what it's called. Book Depository. Like, I'm not sure if mine goes to Barnes and Noble. I think it does. It goes to all of those things through this one site. And I didn't even know that. I didn't know how any of it worked. I've just literally, you know, I've just figured all that out and which made me then learn what the mistake was that the typesetter did that was then kind of fucking things up. Well, I thought it was gonna fuck things up. And in a way you could say, but then like that it's kind of did, but then I found a way around it. And it was through that whole process that I even learned, oh, you should, like, if you want to get your book to kind of get picked up to be suggested on Amazon, because I want my book suggested to people browsing similar books, right? Like that's my goal with Amazon. I want my book suggested when people are buying similar books. And it was only through that and through this quote unquote fuck up, but it wasn't, it was more like just not knowing the implications, her not knowing the implications of doing things in a certain order, and stuff. And so then because of that, I just completely took the reins on all of that stuff and was like, look, I'm just going to figure this out. And also because she told me it just couldn't be fixed and I found ways that it could. So that was kind of all the things where I was like, look, I'm just going to, like, I need to just take this on. So I did essentially fix the problem. But it was only through that I learned actually you only want to launch with the Kindle in the first place anyway, and you want to drive sales through Kindle, because that's what Amazon is going to use algorithmically to get a sense of if your book has like, what's the right word? Like if your book is appealing to people and people are going to buy it, and if they, present it to cold traffic, it's not just traffic you've sent, people are going to buy it, and like it and actually read it because they have all that data. When it's on Kindle, people are opening it immediately. They can tell everyone on Kindle Unlimited. They know how many pages they've read. They know if they're finishing it. They know then if they're leaving reviews. So it was only through all of that I figured all of that out anyway, and went about it the way I did. And I actually feel like it's sort of turned out well. I mean, I'm sure there's so much research I haven't done, guys. Like that, I've got a friend who's also been writing. No, actually, two guys. It's interesting that this is guys that approach it this way, right? Two guys I know that are writing books. One is about to launch it. One is still finishing. But anyways, they're the kind of people, they come to me and they're like, oh, do you know about strategies for getting reviews and this for Amazon and like the strategies for launching on Amazon? They've like sent me all these links. I haven't even gone there. All I've gone is like how to fix what that fuck up was. And then through that learning, oh yeah, just actually get people to buy the ebook to begin with. And then, and then just encourage reviews from that. And that's what's going to support like the book being picked up by Amazon. So you just don't need to have everything figured out before you get started. You don't because you'll get there when you get there. And that's all you need when you're creating and you're creating anything. You deal with that when you get there. Some things is helpful to know about beforehand. And I honestly believe anyway, if you're in the end result of your vision and you're open, like you're in a state of openness, you've got an open heart, you just got an open energy, which you will be if you're turned on. Like that is what really turned on and turned off is your heart being open or closed. It's in the like the essence of it. And like if there's information you need to know earlier, you'll come across it. Like it'll come to you. For example, let me give you an example of this. So this book, if you're watching this on video, you'll see me holding it up. This book that I'm holding in my hands, the physical book, is a very special edition of the book. So I ordered 100 copies of this book, and that I took to my book launch. That was my motivation for needing to get a bunch of physical copies. Not that I was anticipating selling 100. It was not like I had maximum 50 tickets for my book launch, but I wanted to have a whole bunch of physical books. So I ordered 100 books. And with this copy, so this was like the book, we finished it, me and the typesetter finished it, and then ASAP uploaded it, got it printed. And in this version, I'd wanted to do this for every chapter. I absolutely did not end up having the time or brain capacity. Like I was burnt out by the time I finished actually putting together this book. That maybe can be a podcast episode for another time, because a big thing for me this year has been being attuned with my energy and being able to really feel when I'm depleted, because I've kind of had too much like output or like high energy, hyper arousal on my system, and I need and what I need to do to give my body the space to physically like recover. So anyways, I kind of hit a burnout point, and what I mean by that is like I could feel I was depleted. I was still tired after a full night of sleep, and it just wasn't doing like I just wasn't recovering. I was staying in this kind of depleted feeling. So then I just really I just had a few weeks then of like recovery where I did all these certain things to give my physical body enough space to recover. Anyways, so with this book, what I did manage to do, okay, at the end, I was like, I almost feel like I don't have this in me, but I know that I want some of my memes in here. And if you guys don't already know, about 3.5 years ago, I started making memes. I love memes. And I had one go super viral. I got one super viral meme. And then honestly, if I'm just really honest, kind of a bit of a while after that, maybe a few months, I was just in so much expansion. I'd moved to Bali, started making memes, having the best time, recorded my Money Queen course, was fully booked out with coaching clients. I had too many coaching clients. And then I was going on my trip to Europe, flying business class over there, booked like really nice Airbnbs to stay in. And then I fully went into like a contraction after that, because to my system, my unconscious is completely unsafe that my energy was so free flowing, and I was like going out and being out in the world. That's a thing for another time. I think I maybe have talked about that on another episode. But so I give you that context to tell you that I haven't been creating a lot of memes, even though I was on a roll for a while of creating a lot. But blah, 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 blah. I put 2 of my existing memes in the book. One is on the cover page with part 1. One, I can show you on the video. One is on the cover page with part 2. That's my ultra famous viral meme. Like, and I mean it when I say it's very famous and viral, and like was reposted on accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers, with like hundreds of thousands of likes, like on so many accounts. My one on my account has been shared and saved, like 500 times, but it's been posted on like massive accounts. I've just seen it on the explore page, like having no idea that it was like on these accounts. Anyways, so this physical copy of the book has the memes in it. Okay, so what I'm getting at is like, you'll know what you need to know if you just open, because the universe will find a way. Or I don't even want to say it like that. Your subconscious will find a way for you to become aware of what you need to become aware of to match your end result. Basically, that's how it works. If you're in negative expectation, your subconscious will make you aware of everything that aligns with that negative expectation. If you're in the expectation and the end result of your vision, everything you need to know for that vision, will come to you, will come up, will be presented to you somehow on your way to that. So you never need to stress or be anxious about that kind of thing. So anyways, as I was like researching something to upload my book to Amazon, and I'm like, what about this and this and this? I came across a YouTube video. I think I was trying to figure out, like, there's all these settings. Yeah, there's a setting around like like data protection. And so it's so many things I just never knew before. Like, you know how there's this problem when you buy ebooks on Amazon? I've heard this talked about. I'm not sure if I've actually experienced this. I do have a Kindle, but I don't do a lot of ebook reading. But you can't get the ebook off that, right? It's like you buy it through Amazon. This is a thing I've heard people talk about, and then it's like stuck and locked to Amazon. So, and then you can't get it onto other readers. So that is actually a setting when you upload your book. You can select whether that happens or not. So you tick a box to say whether you want to put on this data protection thing that stops people from being able to take your book off Amazon at all, and therefore has these greater protections that people can't download it, they can't plagiarize it, they can't share it with someone else. Yeah, they literally just they can't even share it with someone, right? Or you can have that box unticked, and that enables people to open your ebook that they purchased through Amazon on, like, take it off Amazon and have it on any ebook reader, which then also just gives them ownership of the file so that then they can, like, share that file with a friend if a friend wants to read it or whatever, which you can do with a physical book, right? So I left it unticked, so that you can take it onto other readers, and that was the guys, context. You needed this context for me to tell you the next thing, didn't you? You didn't, but I think this is probably interesting for you because probably a lot of you guys are considering either writing books or creating something similar. I'm telling myself that anyway. Well, if you are, you're probably still here. And if you're not, you've probably quit off this episode by now. So this is for you if you're actually curious about these things. And so that's why I was on YouTube, because I was figuring out, A, what does this mean? And B, what do I want to choose? And, essentially, like, yeah, I do not have a book because I'm trying to make money from a book. Like, I don't anticipate I'm going to make shit from having a book. Like, the cost of printing, the cost, like, I'm not going to make shit from this book. I don't think. That's not my purpose for the book. My purpose for the book is to get my teachings out and get this message out. And, I probably will make more money through that because more people will find out about what I do, and the people that really resonates with will likely, like, if they want more and they want to be supported in this process, then yeah, it'll support my coaching business. But from the book itself, I'm not. And, like, I want people to read the book. I want as many people as possible to read the book. I'm not, and so if people share the book, like, I'm not upset about that. I'm not like, oh no, each person should that reads the book should pay me for the book. Like, no. I want people to read the book. And also, like, I really hate the idea that if you bought the ebook version of Amazon, like, you would be restricted with it. Like, you just bought this thing from me and now I'm like, oh no, you can't take it off this platform. That just doesn't even feel good to me. Like, I want to be like, yeah, open it on whatever reader you want to open it on. Share it with your friends. If you bought a physical copy, you could lend that to a friend. Yeah, share it with your friends. So anyways, that is unticked or whatever on Amazon. So if you do buy my ebook from Amazon, I will have it all set up through my website soon. But right now, well, it would have been another thing to get set up when I had a million things I was doing. But also, I let myself off the hook of doing that right away because I actually want all the sales to come through Amazon initially, so that Amazon will test my book, which, great news, guys, it is. It's testing my book in these different categories. So it is presenting it to people. It's in this test phase. And so anyways, that's why I'm talking about Amazon. And it will be available through my website in the next couple of weeks. But through that, I came across a YouTube video where this woman said her book got taken off Amazon. So, there's lots of people, I'm sure you've seen the ads before. I've seen the ads before that make money. Like, they have a passive income business model of publishing books on Amazon and making money through it. And I've always thought, like, okay, maybe that works for like 0.0009112% of people, but like for everyone else, I'm sure that just doesn't work. I could be wrong. I can be cynical about these things. I've been around for a while. I've been in the online business space for over 10 years. I've been around the block. All right. And, anyways, so this woman, I clicked on it and, she was a person that did that kind of thing. And like, she was showing her graph, how she made like 36 grand from this book on Amazon. And then it went to zero because Amazon took down her book because of copyright. And I was like, copyright? Yeah. Okay. I did have to tick that I owned everything in the book. Like, when I upload it to Amazon, it asks you have to declare if any of it was written by AI. My book's not written by AI, so I can just click no to that. And also, do you own 100% copyright? And so she was talking about how, and I haven't, again, I've been around the block. I've been on online business stuff for like, yeah, I think it's over 10 years, maybe it's 11 years. And not that I've had an online business that whole time, but 11 and a half years since I've been really like kind of on it, into it, studying it. And then not too long after that, getting started with coaching. But she was saying how she made her book with Canva. And so she used a Canva element and she did a journal. So I think that's actually what I gathered from her video, and something else I read was that's, I think, the sort of book that people use to make that, set up all that passive income on Amazon. It's not like writing a book like what I've written. And anyways, she just went through just very honestly, like her journey with Amazon and Amazon taking it down, and that you get 5 days, and that, to prove that you fully own everything, and that at any point Amazon can come in, look at your book and go, hey, do you have copyright of this? And I just immediately was like, oh my God, the memes. I don't have copyright of the original images. Like, you shouldn't have anything in your book that you don't own. And so then it made me go on a big double check of all my fonts. Like, am I all good with all my fonts? Fortunately, I am. Fortunately, I didn't use any line elements, or like I didn't use any elements. I did create my cover on Canva, but I didn't use any graphics like off Canva. I just used text basically, because I had a vision for my book cover, which maybe I'll share more about that in a sec. But anyways, I just all of a sudden was like, oh my God, I have to take my memes out. I don't own them. I don't have copyright of them. And so I messaged my typesetter. I felt like there's a bit of tension going on between us. Oh, which was a really triggering and uncomfortable thing for me, honestly, in the lead up to my book launch, was feeling, I don't know if it was all imagined in my head, but was feeling this tension I imagined was between me and my typesetter because of how things have been going. And anyway, I was like, we have to take out those memes. I'm really sorry. And the other good thing was that I had noticed when I had uploaded everything to that original site that, she did the upload to, that shouldn't have been uploaded there first because of how that then went on to impact things, but I managed to fix it. I had noticed, fortunately, I had done it. Like I had been the one that actually did the final submit, because I noticed that it said, you've got 60 days to make adjustments to any of this. Like, you can, upload a new proof, upload a new whatever. And if you do that within the first 60 days, it's fine. And so then I thought I'd seen something similar on Amazon, or I was like, I'm pretty sure there's like a similar thing with Amazon, because by that point I had already uploaded it on Amazon actually for the purpose of rectifying the thing that had been the problem. And so actually I have not launched the paperback of my book yet, but actually it is on Amazon. I'm going to tell you a secret. It actually is available on Amazon. And I've seen a couple of people have ordered it, even though I'm like, oh, the paperback comes out between Christmas and New Year. I think I picked a date. I don't even remember what it is right now. Guys, I don't even know how I've done everything I've done in the last 3 months, but it's happened somehow. And one of the consequences is I'm just not as in control of everything as I usually am. And I think that's actually a really good point to be making, like I am someone who in my conditioning, very well, I mean, I can be very in control. I also then have a egoic thing of spiraling out of control and feeling out of control. Not really with my life, but more like with my relationship with food, for one thing, mainly that, or like not being able to get myself to do things that I've decided I'm gonna do, and just delaying it and then feeling like, "Oh, I can't control myself, blah, blah, blah." Anyways, control is definitely a thing for me in my egoic structure, and I'm usually very in control, and I was like, it's so interesting doing all these projects actually where I'm really reliant on other people. So obviously the Dare Eco Silk collection, I'm reliant on the tailor actually in a lot of ways, and then all the collections and the book, I'm reliant on other people. I have been, obviously, I don't have to do it that way, but like for my book, I had an editor, I had a typesetter, and there's all these things where I've sort of been reliant on other people and not in control. And it's been like, oh, experience going through everyone, like the fact that, and the Dare Pleasure collection, like having all of them together has been like makes anything that happens feel like it's on steroids because I'm experiencing it across like 4 different things at one time. And what I mean by that is like when someone makes a mistake, fucks up, does something wrong, completely lets me down, like completely just, yeah, just something. Oftentimes there'll be 2 or 3 of that happening at once across these different projects, and I would just have these flare-ups of, like, rage or, like, disappointment and, like, having to try to deal with those emotions when it's not just, like, 1 thing, it's, like, 3 things or even 4 things, and it's all at once, and they're all happening together, and all of those people want something back from me immediately, and they're messaging me, and I'm on WhatsApp, and I'm, like, in 3 chats at one time, like, madly replying to people because we're madly trying to get things done, and we got 1 week to go, and this is broken, and this is fucked up, and it's just like, wow. It's been personal growth, that's for sure. Anyway, I messaged my typesetter. I hope you're enjoying this episode. I messaged my typesetter. I was like, we have to take out the memes. I'm so sorry. You're going to have, like, I need you to export the file again without the memes so I can re-upload it, because I'm in this window where I also can re-upload it. And so all of that is to say this batch of physical copies, 100 physical copies, are the only editions. These very first ever printed editions are the only ones with the memes inside. And not only memes, it's very boring, but the other thing that they have that the other ones don't is the podcast symbols on the podcast page, because I was like, fuck, I can't use them either. The only way I could use podcast symbols is if I got Josie, my sister, who is a graphic designer and she's also just a great illustrator, to, trace and create like our own original files of them. And I just couldn't be fucked. Like, didn't have time, couldn't be fucked. Not worth it. So I just took them out, and the memes are out. So if you got this physical copy, so excited for you. You keep it. Never know. It might be worth something one day because it's got the memes in it. Or no, it's just a keepsake. It's like like a special edition of something. If you had the special first like Mario Kart or like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh wow, this is like a legacy item. Okay, I don't know if it'll be a legacy item, but if you love the book, it'll be something special. So for all of you guys that came to the book launch and have the book, congrats. I forgot to say it. I meant to say it at the book launch and I forgot. You have a very special version of the book that will never be printed like this again. Unless maybe no, it won't be printed like this again. I was just going to say, I think for my memes, what I could do next time is just use photos of myself with memes, which I do have memes of photos of myself. But it won't be going in this book. It won't be in this book, baby. So be unacceptable. I have spent 45 minutes sharing a lot of things, not what I was really planning to share, but I do want to share just a little bit more with you about the writing process, because I want to show, or just the creation process of the book, because I want to show you just how much you can do the thing. Like whatever the thing is that you know you should be doing right now, or that you want to be doing, you just do it. Just do it. So I first set out to write this book 2 years ago, basically exactly 2 years ago. Not exactly, because 2 years and 1 month by now. I set out to write this book. I had written, as I mentioned, my ebook, Make Money Want You, which I love. I had written that book a year or two prior. I think maybe 1 year prior, 2 years prior, 1 year prior. Anyways, I had written that book, and what I had done with that book was I was in South Australia at the time, because it was kind of like tail end of COVID, and I'd ended up being in South Australia, which is where I'm originally from and where most of my family is. And I had booked a week away in the Sunshine Coast, which if you're in Australia, all of that would make sense. If you're not in Australia, that's actually really fucking long way away. Like that's actually quite a distance to go. And so I flew up to the Sunshine Coast and I booked a really nice Airbnb. And I found that Airbnb actually by searching like writers' retreats. I just wanted to find like a great place to write for a week. And I wanted to write and finish my book in that week. And I did. I had kind of had this bit of agitation for like the first day or two where I was trying to document it. And by documenting it, I just kept avoiding it and I didn't drop into it, which is part of the reason I didn't document any of the creation of this book, because then it becomes a distraction for me and I just don't do the thing. Because there's so much tension around actually like getting myself to write a book. It don't work. It not helpful. Just shut up, stop everything else, write the book. So I wrote the book. I wrote the entire thing in one day, like 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then I spent the next couple of days editing it, creating the cover, finishing it, and I released it by the end of that week. And I loved it. You know, like I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is so good. Yes. And so 2 years ago, I took myself away for a week in Bali to write the book that I wanted to have printed and published. And I got so fucking stuck. I restarted like 3 times. I kept, I kept having to move spots I was writing, have a snack. Oh, I need to go to a cafe, change clothes. I just was agitated. I couldn't get into it. I kept trying to deal with the resistance, do processes. Fuck. I just was in a head fuck the whole time. And I came back basically not going to use anything I'd written. And I was like, oh, shit. Did not expect that. Shit. And I have started it again a couple of times in those last couple of years and then just stopped, like after introduction chapter 1, which if you read this book, you'll read about that in the introduction. I would just stop. And so, and I also hadn't honestly fully committed myself. I knew I wanted it done, but I also felt honestly so swamped with just what I needed to do for my coaching business. And I was running retreats in Bali, which was such a huge thing for me to market and get enough people to, that it just kept pulling away from something that's like a high tension thing, where I really need to bring presence and focus to actually do it. And then, like at the start of this year, actually, no, I had in a way committed to it because I was like, I'm not putting on another retreat until I finish my book. It becomes a distraction and I'm not going on another trip because the last 2 years I'd gone on a 4-month trip each year to sometime in Australia, sometime in Africa, going on soul safari with one of my biggest mentors and one of my coaches, William Whitecloud, and then also going to Europe and spending a couple of months in Europe. And I was like, I'm not going away and I'm not putting on a retreat, and I'm just not doing any of these things until I've written my book. I'm just going to stay in Bali. I'm going to do, like, I needed to do business rebuild stuff this year, or evolution maybe, of like my old structures had stopped working. This is something that always happens in business. I didn't deal with it so well this last time, but your structures will always stop working, and you've just got to be with the aliveness, and you've got to always be like awake and willing to evolve things in your business, always. Otherwise, your business will work for a while and then it will die, and then you'll make it mean something about you. But actually, all you did was you thought that you could just create one winning formula or structure and then never change it. And then that stops working at some point because things change, like the conditions change, like everything changes. And you just got to be able to move and evolve with that. So that was a big thing I had to do this year. And I also knew I wanted to write my book. And so then it came to the middle of the year, and I had not started my book. I had made big headway on like getting the things set up in my business that I wanted to. And I just woke up one morning and I was like, I'm going to have a book launch in December. That gives me 3 months to write my book, plenty of time. And to me, plenty of time, because, I have had that experience. A lot of people wouldn't think that. And also now I know the whole process. It ain't plenty of time, but in my mind, plenty of time. I'll spend 1 month writing it, 1 month getting it edited, 1 month sorting out printing. I mean, that's all right, but actually that is quite a tight editing timeline. For the way that I wanted editing, and I did my editing, that actually turned out to be plenty of time, but quite a few people freaked out when I said it. And I actually stopped telling people where I was at with the book because people would freak out for me. And I was like, I'm not freaked out, and I don't need to justify to you why it's fine and I'm not freaked out, and you don't need to be freaked out. Like, I just don't need to go through that. That's just stupid. So I'm just not gonna stop talking to people, like being open when people ask me, because why? Like, I don't want to deal with your your uncomfortability. I know it's fine. And so, yeah, I booked the book launch, sold half the tickets. I would have had a whole month to write it if I started then, but I actually was finishing a course and I was about to open my next new mastermind container, which was something I had to do. Well, no, I didn't have to do, but like was something I'd actually kept delaying because I knew I kind of needed to do more groundwork with my people. And like I knew I wanted to offer Unbound, and just kind of like I was just in what's going to serve my people really. And like I need to do these steps before I launch my next mastermind. And then I was launching my next mastermind. And so then it got squishy down to, okay, I have 2 weeks actually, I have 2 weeks to write this entire book. I just started a brand new mastermind, new portal, doing a whole system changeover, CRM changeover. I don't know how I do this sometimes. And I was like, right, okay, I actually have 2 weeks to write this book, and I need to find an editor, literally, and get an editor to do it. And that's when I learned that that's actually a really tight timeline for an editor. But fortunately, I also learned that there's different types of editing, and actually the only editing I wanted was copy editing and line editing. And maybe it wasn't going to be so bad as long as I could find someone available. And so what I did was I went into my book bubble, as I called it, which was where I'm just not available for anything. I'm not posting on social media. I'm not as I said, I'm not documenting this. I will show up in my work containers that I need to. I actually scheduled a bunch of posts. And then once that finished, I just let it drop off because I was like, no, I'm writing the book, nothing else. And I honestly needed that structure to write this book, to be honest, because I had so much resistance. It's like I can write so easily. I was dying to write content. I love writing content. I can write so easily, but for some reason, I mean, I know the reason, but like writing a book, like my brain was just getting really blocked up. And I did the thing again of like, I got started, I wrote the introduction, chapter 1, and then I would just stop, or I'd be like, oh, that's not quite it. And I restarted it and I restarted it and I restarted it. And then hit this point where I was like, no, this is a pattern. Like, I'm just doing this thing again. And so I dove into that, and I actually shared this in the introduction of this book. So if you want to hear me break it down, it's in the introduction of this book. And then I just wrote it. From then, I just wrote it. And it actually took, I think, approximately 7 days of writing. I just wrote it, like, through those whole 7 days, start to finish. Didn't go back and edit. I use a intuitive genius writing process that I learned from William Whitecloud. And so I just wrote the whole thing. And as soon as I finished writing the whole thing, it was like, oh, the rest is easy. Like, not to say there's not challenges in the rest, but if the core material is done, I know it's done, right? All that needs to happen is to go through it. But the real thing that's, like, I think the most difficult thing in book writing is to get yourself to just write the book. Once it's written, all you're doing is cleaning it up. That's it. You're just cleaning it up. But, like, if you've written the entire thing, you've got all the raw material. Oh, then you just clean it up and it's fine. So yeah, that was a huge moment for me. And I remember just feeling like, wow, and going on my walk in the evening and just feeling like I feel like I've just stepped into the next level of claiming my true nature and purpose, and claiming my path, and claiming what I have to share with the world, and not waiting for, like, oh, I talk about this in the book. I've got a whole chapter on permission. I've got kind of two. There's a permission one in the spells, and there's a permission one in the code. And not waiting for, like, to have a certain number of followers to validate that, like, I'm a leader people want to listen to, or people want, like, receive my wisdom and want it. Or not waiting until I'm offered a publishing deal that proves that, I'm a leader and authority with something actually worth sharing with the world. And just that's been a big thing for me this year, that I almost didn't see how much I unconsciously held myself back from this, of just going, yeah, you know what? Like, I have something to share. Maybe not everyone will want it or receive it, but I have something to share. And this is what I have to share. And this year, as I mentioned, really the whole year, but, like, up until September, let's say, was so much of me unlocking and stepping into my wisdom, and not just, like, what has been validated by others, but, like, really, like, my wisdom, and kind of coming up with my, like, these models of, particularly, like, working with emotion and working with the part of you that doesn't want your success, and, like, kind of deepening, in the work that I use, like, deepening so much in these certain areas where that are kind of maybe glossed over a little bit, let's say, or there's not, like, a real depth of tools that, people get stuck and find that they can't, like, alchemize this bit, even if they've got the awareness, right? So I've come so much into just, like, letting my authority be a thing of, like, yeah, well, I'm just gonna develop, like, and let myself, develop what really works for me, and what I uncover, and what I uncover about how to understand this part of our consciousness more fully, and how we can actually, like, unhook and transmute and, like, get back into our turn on, and, like, really understanding the concept of turn on and turn off, which, I kind of came up with. I'm sure it's not unique. I'm sure other people use it. But, like, and just being like, yeah, that's what it is. And you can feel it. And then presenting that to my clients and having them all resonate so much and find it so useful. And, like, all of them just completely take it up 10 notches in what they're creating in their lives and stepping into their power as a result. And then, like, it's no wonder that's, like, from there, I'm able to fully step into, yeah, I'm writing a book, and I'm claiming and owning what I have learned from all this time of coaching. Like, for, like I said, since I first became aware of the online world, or I guess even maybe a bit before, when I first got into kind of spiritual development, and like an understanding of myself, of having a soul and a true path in life, and just, going for that, quitting my engineering job, going for that, just going for that full, full out, all in, but then, feeling so constricted and held back in so many ways for so long. Like, even though I was sort of technically taking all the steps to go all in and fully claim it, I wasn't, and I couldn't, and I kept getting stuck, and I kept sabotaging myself, and I kept pulling back, and I kept feeling stifled, and I kept feeling like I don't know how to let my full self out. I don't know how to let myself be visible and shine, and I want to be visible, but I keep creating this certain thing, and I keep kind of being a watered down version of myself, and I don't know how, I feel like I'm trying to do it, but I know there's something I'm not unlocking. And then going through my own process of actually really getting those keys and unlocking all of that for myself and taking that on for myself of like, okay, if I know this premise and I know this concept and, I can really feel the truth of like, if you're ever not doing something, it's because of a pain you're avoiding. We choose our immediate comfort over like something uncomfortable, right? There's like those studies that is like people take, I actually don't know exactly what it is, but it's, like people will take nothing over the potential of like losing $50 or some immediate comfort rather than like the delayed, because we want to avoid uncomfortable sensations. We're wired to. And just really seeing like, yeah, there's the part of us that's creating all the things we don't want is getting something out of it. And if we can get like actually truly feel like find that part of ourselves, which is so taboo to us because we want to reject so hard that we're creating this thing, feel it, get on board with it, and then also like realize the things we haven't been willing to feel that are, associated with the end result we want. So much stuff. And then anyways, I wrote a book, and my point with it all was, yeah, I just, once I finished writing it, like the raw, unedited manuscript, yeah, I could just feel how like, yeah, this is me claiming my true nature. And when you follow through on your true nature without the validation you think you need to do it, this is something I talk about in the book, that is you. Like that's the way to do it. That's the way to create everything you want. But you think you need something else first. You think you need more recognition, more attention, more popularity, more money, more connections. You don't need any of those things. You don't need any of those things. Those things are a fucking illusion. They're an illusion that your ego is telling you because it's projecting the experiences of your childhood and what you made up to mean was the case. And your power is when you don't resolve any of those things and you just do the thing. You just do the thing. And that is what I got around to getting myself to do this year with my book. And I just did the thing. And so, I had this crunch time timeline. I fucked around for a few days, starting and restarting. And then I wrote the book hard, just 7 days. And that took me up to the day I said I would get it to my editor. So it was just like, it's just happening. Like it just has to be done. And then really, in order to give it to my editor, because I was just getting her to do line and copy editing and that's all I wanted, I needed to go through and edit it into a finished version so that then she could line and copy edit. So then that took me like another week for me to then get her, or maybe a bit less. I feel like it was around a week, obviously like running some things and doing some coaching in between. And then I got it to her, and then we went through this big editing process. And then I had so much going on with Dare. Holy moly, that I was slow in the editing process, which is something I told myself I wouldn't do. But we ended up actually having very spacious time through that editing process, since she was a quick editor and she was just doing line and copy editing. And so it was actually fine. It was totally fine. I got it to my typesetter early, which was great. And so my typesetter and I finished it early. But then there was these upload issues and like I think that the program is just honest, like that the typesetter used, which is a very common one to use. I think it's honestly just kind of glitchy because she had fixed things, then she exported again. She doesn't have the attention to detail that I have. And so she uploaded what should have been the final one to get printed, and it was back to the old table of contents that had a mistake in it, and there was something else that had a mistake. And I was like, no, this is wrong. And then we didn't get the proof back for like 5 days. So it was like all this time that one should have just been ordered, but we had to resubmit it. And then that delayed the whole thing. And so I thought the physical books would be ordered by the time I left Bali for Australia, but they weren't. And we're just in limbo waiting for the proof to come back before I could accept it. And I mean, there's a bit more to it than that. That was annoying and difficult and like, and then the proof. Wow. Okay. There's a lot of story that I'm not going to go into of what went down in those last couple of days before I left Bali. I'm not going to go there because I'm going to wrap this podcast episode up. It's already quite a long episode. But basically it was insane. And just to tell you one thing in a short version, I got kicked out of my house that I was meant to be coming back to the day before I left, and I suddenly actually had to pack all of my belongings, which I didn't have enough boxes for. I had like 12 boxes and an extra suitcase and things I wasn't taking. And yeah, so that's what happened on my last day, and I was just fucked, honestly, by that point. And then so I was leaving for the airport at 7 a.m. the next morning. My alarm was at 6. Woke up, checked my email for the proof, see if it had come back yet. The proof was back. So once I got in the car with my driver to go to the airport, opened my laptop, got in, checked the whole proof. Yep, all good. In the car on the way to the airport, I ordered the 100 books of these books to be delivered to my friend's place in Melbourne, which was about $1,000, I think, Australian. And I was like, okay, I can, everything that's been, just for now, everything's done. Someone's coming to pack the rest of my shit and take it all into storage. I've got what I got with the silk stuff and the glass stuff and the merch. There's kind of mistakes with all of it, but okay, we're getting on the plane. And it was honestly such a, like, I guess emotional, like sort of challenging last 24 hours in Bali. And there's stuff with my landlord and just how he was, and it was really difficult. And so once I got on the plane and I got to Melbourne, I just felt so happy. I was like, oh my God, yes. I made it. Yeah. Yeah, holy shit. The book is ordered. And then what we hadn't touched yet, because we just didn't need to yet, was with my typesetter, was getting the EPUB ebook version done. So then that was our next thing to get done while I was in Melbourne, and then get it all uploaded to the websites, which, as I said, I then took on. And I was like, look, I'm going to do it because I just think that's better. And yeah. And so then over the next week and a half in Melbourne, I just chipped away at that and learned about, like, okay, just because of this fuck up, just launch the ebook first. Oh, it's actually better that I just push everyone towards the ebook. And I managed to kind of fix the problem, or the way that I overrode the problem meant that the paperback is available already, even though I'm saying the paperback is going to be launched later, and I will set it up to come through my website later. But on Amazon, it is actually already up, so that I could override this thing and still not have the consequences of really, like, my Amazon listing being quite fucked up and getting way less royalties from it and stuff. And so, yeah, it was all a lot, and I will do a separate episode on my book launch. So then I had a book launch and I shared about the ebook on, like, guys, I did not come up with any kind of marketing campaign. I had no bandwidth for any of that. I was like, okay, I'll email my list. I'll let them know that the book is live. I will do the story. I'll do a post. I'll just let people know the book is live and they can go and buy it in ebook. And then I just went to the launch. That was a whole journey. And then I think I maybe shared one thing the next day. And then I just kind of couldn't do anything for the day after that. And like that, I was traveling from leaving Melbourne, separating from my family. I will share more on a launch episode about all of that. And coming to visit my sister and stay with my sister, like flying up with them because her and her partner had come down for my book launch and to help out. And flying up with them to New South Wales to come and stay with them on their property that they moved into, that they bought and moved into at the start of the year that I hadn't been to. And it is so beautiful. So I'm in their studio. I was saying that at the beginning. I remember now. I'm in their studio. They have a studio that they Airbnb. They do have a spare room in the house, but they were just like, look, I think you'll be more comfortable in the studio. You can have your space. We can have our space. And so I'm staying in their Airbnb studio, and it is so nice. So I booked that week away to write my ebook at a place. I just wanted to find a nice place to go away to write for a week that was like surrounded in nature and like gorgeous, just be in a gorgeous, beautiful place in nature, near the beach, beautiful area. And it was nice. I actually paid like 4,000 Australian dollars for that week, and I don't think it was really worth that, to be honest. And coming here, so on Monday, that's what I was saying. I really felt like, okay, I should do some promo for the book again. I was so wrecked. I was just absolutely wrecked. I had now accumulation of not enough sleep, gone through the stress of the event, or all the shit that came up for me around the event, and then was still with my family and staying with my family at the place I'd booked, and then I'd booked for us to all go down to the hot springs the next day. And it was just a lot on my system. So I couldn't do anything on Monday except have a couple of cries. And yeah, I just actually felt dizzy and barely able to stay upright. And it's been so nice landing here. And yeah, this studio. So, okay, splitting now into two things. So I really have not done some marketing campaign. But look, if I trust ChatGPT, the way I've gone about it is, I think, good and effective enough for what I want out of it. Because what happened, this is super cool, guys. So if your book, I don't know, shows enough positive signals, then Amazon will start testing it, and it will rank it in the categories, and it will start showing it to Kindle Unlimited readers. And and so it's testing, does this book sort of hold? Do people order it? Do people purchase it? And it's kind of got this initial stage of the sales that come in. Okay, but what about once that traffic stops, of an initial launch and reviews, and do people actually read it? And it goes through this testing stage. So my mum was actually the best on the day at launch, because she messaged all of her friends, everyone in her contacts basically, and was like, could buy Alex's book on ebook. It's really going to help her. She's launching it today. And I made the ebook. So this is still the case right now until tomorrow. So if you listen to this episode in the first 24 hours, I made the ebook $2.99 USD for the first week. So it's got a special launch price, and then it goes up to $9.99 USD. And so she just messaged all her friends. All her friends bought it. I guess some people also bought it from my channels. And it went within 24 hours. So when you upload your book to Amazon, you can select 3 categories to upload it into. And with the categories I picked, within 24 hours, it was number 1 in one of the categories, emotions and self-help, and it was number 2 in the other 2 categories, which was fucking amazing. Guys, I did not do a marketing. Like, what I just told you is what I did to share the book. I didn't do some marketing campaign. And so that was an Australian Amazon. And then in the US Amazon, it was like a lot lower, but it was still ranking in every category, which means it is being tested. Even and the US is obviously a way bigger market, and also most of the people that bought, definitely like 90% would have been through Amazon AU. And it's also ranking in the UK. It's ranking higher in the UK than the US, but I think the US is such a big market that that's quite typical, that your lowest ranking, maybe if I was in the US, it wouldn't be, will be the lowest ranking. And so now we're like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 5 days later, it's not at number 1 in that category anymore in Australia, but it's in number 2 in all 3 of my categories. And it's still ranking in all the US categories. It's been fluctuating in all of them. I've been like checking too much. I'm getting into a rhythm of like checking less now. It was really hard at the beginning, like checking the number of sales and then checking the rankings. Now I'm not really checking the sales. I'm just checking the rankings, and they're just fluctuating up and down in basically all 3 of those markets. It basically stays at number 2 in all 3 of my categories in Australia, but the number, like, ranking in total of Kindles is still fluctuating a bit. It's like going up and down a little bit. And so now ChatGPT is telling me the most important thing I can do is just like ask for reviews and encourage people who have read it and said something to me about it to write a review, because that's the thing that Amazon will be looking for, as it's in this testing phase of like, how is it doing in these rankings? Are people taking it? And then also Kindle Unlimited reads, which I have no control over. So I just got to, it's really interesting. Never had this with marketing something, I guess, where it's like it goes out of my hands, because I can do an initial push to get people to buy the book and leave a review. And that's actually extremely helpful. But then for it to stay ranking in categories and being suggested to people, it has to be bought by a cold audience. So it then becomes and be read and be reviewed, right? So like if people from Kindle Unlimited are downloading it, they need to actually consume it. And then like it'll start looking more for reviews once a bit more time has passed. And so it's like out of my hands, because it then becomes literally, how does this perform on its own on the site? Not like how much traffic can I drive to it? I can try and drive traffic to it, and that's really helpful in the beginning. But then it fully just becomes, how does it perform on its own? The title, the cover, like I never really thought about this before, but I guess it's obvious. Like the title, the cover, and then people reading the description, and then reviews, and like people reading the reviews, and then whether they decide they want to buy it or download it in their Kindle Unlimited, and then whether they decide they want to read it, and then whether it's engaging enough that they finish it. It's like just actually becomes about that, and not me marketing it. So it's really interesting. But I'm so stoked that it's ranking in these categories, that it went to 1. Like you literally, if you went to that category, my book was sitting at the top with a number 1 bestseller like badge on it. I've taken the screenshots. My book has the number 1 bestseller badge on it. And when I looked at the categories that actually only looked at one, the category that I was ranking number 1 in for a bit, all the other books in that category had like 1,000 to 2,000 reviews. Like some maybe had 800 reviews. So they were all completely like well-established books. And there was my book sitting there, number 1, with 1 review. So, obviously they're all established books in the category that are obviously like holding their position. And then my book came in as something that kind of had enough positive metrics to be like, cool, we're going to test it, put it at the top. I don't know how it works. I'm not going to pretend I know how that bit works, but it was number 1 It's now number 2 or for the last few days, it's held number 2 in all of the categories. The more reviews that I can get over the next few days, I think make a really big difference. Even just going from, having 4 to 8 reviews, like in that bracket, to 8 to 12 reviews or 8 to 20 reviews, that makes a really big difference supposedly for the algorithm. And then 20 plus, huge difference. So the most helpful thing that anyone can do for my book right now from my network, well, actually, even if they're not in my networks, but I have no way of telling them they're not my networks, is to leave a review on Amazon. And what I just really want out of that is to just get it going so that it's suggested and people find it through Amazon. And then what I will do in the next few weeks is I'm going to have it set up on my website, and then that's where I will direct people to buy it from. So if you're listening to this episode, the reviews are always helpful because it can always go back in for retesting. Like Amazon has their algorithm or whatever, and they might pick it up again and test it again, especially based on reviews. So if you've read the book or you want to read the book, and you have the ability to leave an Amazon review, which I think means you need to have purchased something off Amazon in the last 12 months and maybe actually it needs to have been up to $50 or something, then yeah, and it feels like you'd love to support me and support the book getting out there, then it's just so incredibly helpful to leave a review on Amazon. So yeah, if that's something that feels true for you, I'd love to ask you to do that. And the final thing that I just realized I didn't share, and then I'm just going to wrap this up because it's been quite long. So got more to record. But also I would have ended here anyway. The cover. So the cover for my book, during my bubble of writing the book, I was going to bed one night and I just this kind of thing never usually happens to me in terms of a visual picture. I just saw visually a picture of the book cover. I just saw it in my mind's eye and I was like, that is the cover of my book. And I just got up the next morning. For some reason, I didn't do it immediately. I obviously thought I would remember, which is not necessarily a good idea because a lot of, whenever I have ideas for words of things or posts or something I want to write, I don't write it down. It fucking goes. So I'm pretty disciplined about I'll just open my phone and write it and then I can come back to it. But anyways, I got up the next morning and I just made it on Canva. And that's my book cover. That's the story. I don't know, in my head, if you look at it, it's B in white, unacceptable, and the way unacceptable is written, un is in white, able is in white, but accept is in black. I think when I first saw it, I was going to do B in one color and unacceptable in the other color. And then it just really came out ooh, no, this play on the word and putting accept actually just in a different color. So accept pops, but it's actually part of unacceptable, but you're breaking being acceptable into becoming unacceptable. And the book is actually about, I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, the dichotomy between the two and the you live your life to be acceptable and unconsciously you limit yourself and you feel so fucked up and trapped because there's a part of you that's you must be acceptable. And the way to break out of that is to be unacceptable, which is easier said than done, which is why you've got the code to wake up to your acceptable self and step into the truth of who you are and follow your path, and how you can actually do that when you have this essentially alarm system in your head that is no, you must be acceptable. And so it's this play on that in how I've done the title. And in the book there's actually a lot of that in terms of language and words and how I've layered them or contrasted them, and it's a piece of art. This book to me is a piece of art. And as I wrote it, this was the kind of thing I thought I would share in this podcast episode, but I didn't. I kind of would go through this cycle of is this just really genius? The way that and when you're creating something from your genius, this is what happens. It's I couldn't have planned, I couldn't have thought this, couldn't have come up with this by thinking about it. But the way that I've used the language to contrast and illustrate. And I was like, wow, is this like really genius? And then I would be like, is this just like really lame? Am I just thinking this is amazing and it's really lame? So anyways, that was a whole thing that just like occurred. It wasn't a thing that derailed me or upset me or got in my head, but it was just a thing that was part of the process for me. It was like going kind of going in and out of like, is this really good? And then being like, have I just been delusional? And like, like a mother with their child being like, Timmy is the best painter. It's like this stick figure. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm going to wrap up this episode there. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. It felt a little chaotic and all over the place, but maybe that's just what it needed to be to kind of get out a little bit of what these last few months have been like for me. The next podcast episodes are going to be the ones that I said are on my podcast in the book. I'm going to get onto them, get them out. And I think I didn't kind of come back around of why I was talking about the YouTube and the doing this on video and uploading to YouTube. I'm just going to tell you really quickly. It's because I've decided I'm starting a vlog. And I'm doing a vlog of my book launch, and that's going to be my first vlog. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's just start uploading the podcast. And so I'm just going to record it on video on my computer. So it's really fucking easy. Anyways, that's it. I'm sending you so much love. Can't wait to see you in the next episodes. If you haven't read the book and my podcast resonates with you, get the fucking book. Get it. Like literally for the price, you can get the ebook version for the price of less than a motherfucking yoga class or a fucking avocado on toast. Get the book. It's like, it's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you feel so seen. And it, more importantly, is going to give you tools to get over yourself and just do the fucking thing. So if you haven't already, get the fucking book. Sending you so much love, and I'm going to see you in the next episodes.